There's no place like home. There's no place.
Home. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole, where we love to help improve your home and improve your life. My buddy and co-host Eric Storm are traveling today, and thanks for sharing part of your weekend with us because, you know, there is so much that you can do to improve the space you call home. And I was at this seminar this past week with a lot of people who write for magazines, specifically for gardening, like Better Homes and Gardens and various different radio shows and TV shows. And we were talking a lot about growing roses. And I'm not sure if you're into growing roses, if you've tried, if you've failed, if they kind of stress you out. And we were all talking about how, you know, there's this thing called the Rose Society. And we were all thinking, you know, maybe that Rose Society thing that really is age old is making you feel like you can't be part of the fun. I don't know. I'm just thinking. You don't have to be a professional to grow great roses, and I think that they get a bad rap. So I thought we'd talk a bit about the kind of fear of failure that goes on with roses, what works, what are some easy, really easy breezy roses for sure to get going right now, whether it's in a container or in your garden. And then what to plant with them, because, you know, roses have these tall stems, and then you feel like you've got this gaposis, you know, from the ground up to the beautiful ta-da of the rose itself. So I thought we'd talk about all that and kind of give you some guidance because it is, after all, the weekend. And it's a great time to get, if you've seen those bare root roses that are out, they look just like sticks. It's a good time, and it's an inexpensive way to get them quickly into your garden. So first of all, you know, roses, they do kind of have this bad reputation of being almost like whiners. I want some water, you know, I want food, I want something. And they seem to sometimes get infected with various diseases. And certainly, you know, aphids. Gosh, you got to hate those aphids. But there's a lot of solutions and a lot of things so that we could go through how do you first pick a great rose? Because, you know, a lot of them now are made specifically to be disease resistant. You know, these almost like scientists, these rose growers are so terrific at making better and stronger roses, prettier roses, roses that have a fragrance. And why is it that certain roses don't have fragrance? Isn't that strange? Some of them don't. And it's just because I think that as these roses are hybridized to be a little prettier, a little different color, a little certain something, this or that, somehow that the fragrance seems to go away. But there are great fragrant roses, and we'll talk about that as well. But first of all, when you're thinking about planting some roses, you know, they can be a little more wild than the tea roses. They don't have to be all prim and proper. And there's certainly going to be a lot of disease-resistant and bug-resistant roses. So all different kinds. There's the floribundas. There are the hybrid teas. There's your basic shrub. There's the kind that'll be a great vine to go over a trellis. And there's even miniature roses. So think about that as you're first out maybe shopping today, throughout the weekend, throughout the week, and be looking at those things. It's almost like window shopping for roses. And certainly you can go online, and there's so many great websites out there, including ours. If you go to yourhomewizards.com, I'm going to post up later today a list of all the great roses that you definitely should look for. Okay, the easy ones. We're going to start with the easy ones first because everyone wants to feel like a success in the garden. And I think that even the word gardener, to me, feels a little stuffy, because a lot of us don't have time to be a true hardcore gardener. And certainly, you know, there are great gardeners who maybe, you know, you were raised on, you know, with a family, they were great gardeners. Your mom and your dad were gardeners. Like my mom and dad, they were always out in the garden growing up in Southern California, but they weren't really professional gardeners. I mean, my dad loved to weed, of all things. I remember him having his grass stains on his knees, kneeling down there and spending the weekend just outside in the yard, you know, just digging things up. It was therapy to him. And then my mom loving to go and cut the roses or whatever weed would have growing. We had a lot of citrus trees, and then making fresh squeezed orange juice, you know, with our homegrown trees. But there is something definitely very therapeutic about it. So don't feel that you have to be this professional gardener. The key is just to get out there, and try it, and hopefully have some successes, because then the more successes you have, you're going to feel a little more confident, just like anything, of having better experiences. You're going to be a little more adventurous, and then slowly but surely you're going to say, you know what, I'm pretty darn good at this. So first of all, this is a rose that people are talking about. It's so easy to grow. It's called the knockout. Have you heard about the knockout? It's something that is kind of like the Roses for Everyone rose. And it's a best-known landscape rose because it produces these bright cherry red blooms. And then the foliage and the leaves themselves have kind of like a darkish red color. And then the good part just keeps going. It just keeps coming. It's disease resistant. And then it blooms all season long. And it grows about 3 feet tall, because sometimes people might feel that the roses are too leggy or too tall. So when you're out today, look for what's called knockout. And you can find it just about anywhere. You can find it at the big box stores. You can find it at the mom and pop nurseries. And maybe when you're home today and you're making all your to-do lists, or you are just kind of surfing around after you go to our website, just Google knockout roses, and you'll see what I mean. I mean, they're terrific because they're easy. And who doesn't want to have easy? I mean, easy meals, easy gardening. I'm all about easy. Another one that you want to try is called Little Mischief. Little Mischief is another great rose. And don't let the name deceive you, because really, it is not going to cause problems at all. It produces all these masses of a really deep red rose, and then it kind of fades to hot pink as they get a little bit older and through the season. So you kind of have almost a two-tone variety. And it doesn't seem like it's going to ever get a disease. So it's great. So to get that one on your list too, you want to try Little Mischief. Another one that's going to make you feel successful, like you're this terrific gardener and terrific rose aficionado, it's called the Flower Carpet Scarlet. Okay? And what's neat about this is that it's going to fill your landscape with color all summer long and all through the autumn. And it's got these neat little clusters of bright, almost scarlet to red blooms. And it really fills out your space. So if you have a great area in the front or in the back or in the side of your home or the place you call home, you might want to think about this one too. And it's neat too, as you're looking at roses, not only for the ease to grow them, but the colors that they produce. I always think, well, how are you going to match the colors, right? A great tip is just like you would in your wardrobe, start with just maybe 1 or 2 colors. And then after you kind of create like a foundation or a theme, then you can add on with other colors on top of that. Like, for instance, I love to have white roses. And we've had a lot of experimenting with this, both in containers and in the garden, in the ground itself, because I was raised this way, that when you have white roses, they almost glow at night. So if you are big on having outdoor parties or people to come over, throughout the summer, this is going to not only have some beautiful color throughout the day, but then as people are arriving, and let's say you have a lot of candles outside, these little white roses are going to stand out and pop and almost, glow in the dark, if you will, through like 5 o'clock at night to, as it starts to get maybe 7 or 8. Okay, another really easy one is called Rainbow Knockout. Now add this one to your list too. It's easy to grow. And what I love about this is we've talked about a couple of roses that produce red blooms. This one has a coral pink, and it blooms all season long. Rainbow Knockout, easy breezy, great for any sunny landscape. And by the way, as we're talking about roses, you want to make sure that roses have about 5 hours of sunlight. So that's important to think about. They aren't really that prima donna-ish, but they do like some sun. And here, back to the white one. This is an easy one. It's tough to beat. It's called snowdrift, and that's easy to remember, right? It's a really hardy shrub. It has these very full and fluffy white flowers, and it kind of like smiles and laughs at disease. Like, try to get at me. You're not going to get me. so put that on the list, snowdrift, and it's going to grow about 4 feet tall. So those are some ones that I think some great roses that are going to be easy to think about. So when we come back, I'm going to tell you about some other things to plant with your roses, and then how to just get the rose in a container or in the ground to start off with, so that it's going to be more apt to succeed and to grow beautifully. All right. So you're listening to Home Wizard. Cindy Dole here. My buddy Eric Stromer is traveling, so we'll have him back with us next weekend. But you can check us always on the website at yourhomewizards.com. Email us and let us know the things you want to hear about, like roses, which we're talking about. Yourhomewizards.com. That's the website, and you can always catch us on Facebook as well. So the fun continues as we love to help improve your home and improve your life. We're back in a bit here on KFWB News Talk 980.
Oh, please grow for me.
And welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards, where we love to help improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole, and my buddy and co-host Eric Stormer traveling today, but he'll be back with us next week. And, of course, you can find us if you go to the website, yourhomewizards.com, yourhomewizards.com. So we're talking about roses, and we were giving you some ideas on great ones to try because they're going to ensure success, because they are super strong. They fight against disease. They are just really vigorous. And in fact, one of them is even called Superhero. So check out the list of the roses. We're going to put it on the website, but I'll quickly run through some of the ones again that you got to try this weekend. But it's important to have a great experience with planting some of these things. And I think that roses get kind of a bad name. And maybe it's because your mom grew roses, or maybe your grandmother grew roses. And I think a lot of people even say that they've been told, like they move into a new house and then their mom comes over and says, you really aren't going to try roses, are you? I mean, do you think you're able to do them? It's almost like this guilt trip that you can't handle it, perhaps, but you can. And so make sure you try some of the ones that are easy, like Knockout. We talked about Knockout. That's one that just is one of the strongest roses you're going to find out there. A Little Mischief is a great one that is very disease-free. And then another one's called Flower Carpet Scarlet, Rainbow Knockout, and Snowdrift. This is white roses that are all very strong, and they're going to make you all of a sudden this great success. So now that you have that list, well, what do you plant with roses, right? What do you put with them so they look great? Because oftentimes roses get really tall, and when you have this tall, leggy bush, it kind of looks like it's missing something, right? It almost feels like it needs something kind of between the ground and that midpoint so that there's more texture and more interest. So I thought we'd talk about some of the things that you can do to complement your rose bushes, and then how do you plant them in the ground for the first go around anyway. So first of all, when you're thinking about the rose bush, and when you're looking at magazines, you're going to see it online. A lot of times landscapers and designers, they have this trick where they think of things in tiers. It's all about 3 different layers. And for whatever reason, design of all kinds, it seems to be odd numbers, clusters of 3, always seems to be that magical number. So as you're looking at your landscape and as you're looking at your front door, perhaps in the entryway, and you might have some containers, think about 3s, like maybe 3 containers or 3 layers of height from real down low to that midpoint to higher up. And then now if you have these roses, putting things with that principle of 3s around them. So great things to put with roses, all right, to complement the rose bushes. The best companions are those that have similar needs in terms of watering, in terms of sun. And, of course, roses want to have about 5 hours-ish, 6 hours of sun, typically. And they want to have soil that is, rich and moist, but they don't want to be waterlogged. That's when they're going to get things like mildew and such. So you want plants that also like that kind of a condition, and then you're going to be more apt to have a successful experience. So things that are on the lower end, lobelia. Oh, that's a great one. Lobelia. It has that kind of a cobalt blue to purple color, and they're little tufts of flowers, and they're great right at the foot of the bush because they bloom for long periods, and now they're going to kind of accent the base of your rose bush. So isn't that great? You could have this little area, and a lot of people aren't really growing rows of bushes like you see, over by the Coliseum, where a lot of people get married there. There's this row after row after row. I mean, most people don't have that much space, so don't feel like you have to have rows. It could be just maybe a cluster of roses and bushes, and then, or maybe in containers, and then now you just have something a little lower like this lobelia. Another great one is something that has a silvery leaf or foliage to it, like sage, for instance. That's a great one. Or even catmint, because it has this kind of a soft mounding perennial that has little blue flowers in the late spring and the early summer. And then lavender is another great possibility. So again, all of these like the same kind of sunshine, about 5 to 6 hours. They like the same kind of moisture, and they're going to add kind of that look, like that lived-in look. I mean, I think anything with your home, whether it's your garden or it's the interior, you want it to look layered. You want it to look like it isn't something you just went, you bought it all the same day. It just has that lived-in look, like it's just, it was always there. And that's kind of a cool thing to do. So with your roses, again, think about silvery foliage plants, maybe like a catmint, even herbs, sages, lavender. These are all good choices. Some other options that have non-invasive roots. Another really good thing in terms of for your roses. Have you seen candy tuft? So cute. Has little white blooms, and it's fluffy. And again, it's kind of lower to the ground. And that's going to work to fill in at the base of the rose, so it doesn't look like it's just ground, stick, and then, oh, by the way, there's a great rose. So you want to have something to kind of fill it out, because some parts of the year, especially now, if you're planting the bare roots, you're going to just have to hurry and wait, and for these the leaves to fill out before the roses show up. And so why not have some other layers of texture and interesting plants and growth to give interest to your garden? Some other choices: mums. Mums is a good one. Or I love succulents. I mean, certain succulents work great with roses. The campanula, the bellflower, is another terrific one. Or thyme and rosemary, again, getting back to herbs. And lamb's ears. Or the ground cover vinca. Those are all really terrific choices. Lamb's ears, which is so fun to grow, especially if you have kids, because it has not only that silvery, kind of a silvery to pale green leaf, but of course, you've all felt lamb's ear. It has that velvet touch. It feels just like a little furry ear. And so how fun for kids to go out in the garden and feel the beginning of spring with the lamb's ear. So those are some good choices, I think, to have companions for roses. And just like, people, I mean, I think that roses want to have a sense of being with their buddy. So think about that. Think about searching for partners when you're out shopping around that aren't going to overpower, but they aren't going to pale in comparison to, that they're going to look great, and together they will help to hopefully ward off the pests and improve the soil, and also make it just kind of a beneficial effect on the plant health. Now here, let's talk about what are you going to do to get the plant of the rose in the ground itself. Now, this is a great time to be going out for bare root roses. You're going to get them inexpensively. You can see it at the stores, the Oshes and the Armstrongs and so forth. They're the big box stores or wherever. You're going to see them. They're in these bundles, right? And they don't look very attractive. But what the deal is, you're going to get them inexpensively because the roses themselves, the blooms, aren't there yet. But now is the time to plant them. Like this week, next week, go and get them. And then when they come home, they're going to be wrapped in this plastic bag or maybe a tall carton with some kind of a damp organic matter. And there's a good reason because you don't want the roots to dry out, because then the plants die. So here's how you're going to get the bare root rose off to a good start. You're going to unwrap the rose, and you're going to shake off all that planting material right off from the roots itself. You're going to cut off the tag, and then you're going to prune off the broken roots or the canes themselves. And then a good idea is you want to get a bucket of water and plunge the rose into that bucket until the roots are completely soaking in that water, and let it sit there for a few hours. It's going to thank you later in the form of great roses, because it needs a thirsty drink, if you will. And while the rose is soaking, now you're going to go over, and let's say you're going to put it in the garden. You're going to dig a planting hole about 2 feet wide and about 1 foot deep. And then if the garden soil is hopefully pretty good, not excessively too sandy, and hopefully it's not too heavy with clay, then you won't have to amend it. But if it is bad, you might want to mix in some good stuff like compost and kind of just, mix it in there with some gardening tools. And it's a good idea now then to put a 10-inch tall cone of soil in the middle of the hole. And then in the center of the rose, right on top of that, with the roots kind of spreading down on the sides of the cone. And then you're going to put the backfill into the hole and then firming it up with your hand. Never your foot. Okay, don't stomp your foot on there. And then when the hole is filled, then you're going to water around in the soil around the plant till it turns into mud. And then you're going to rock the rose back and forth until it settles in, and let the air pockets to bubble up through the mud. This is called puddling in. And then when you're done, the rose's topmost roots should be barely below the soil surface. Don't make the mistake of smashing it down, because that's going to get suffocated by too much of the dirt and not enough air, if you will. And then after this puddling, you're going to add some more of the backfill of the fresh planting soil to level it off, and then make a 3-inch high watering basin around 10 inches from the base of the plant, and then stick a label on the ground so you know which rose that you've chosen, and you're done. How you like that? And then hopefully very soon you'll start to see some foliage, and then very soon after that, because spring is here, you're going to see some great, beautiful blooms. And all you have to do then is take some pictures and email them to me and let me know about your success, because really, roses aren't that hard. You can do this. And then the fun thing too is, did you know that you can eat certain rose petals? You can. I mean, you can eat pretty much any rose, and you can eat a lot of plants too. You just have to make sure that they don't have chemicals on them. But they're great for salads. And another great trick that I've tried for parties is you take the rose petals and you rinse them off, and then you put them in ice cube trays. And they make a great little beautiful accessory then for a punch or a tea or you name it. Anyway, hopefully that helps you with some rose ideas. Coming up next, we're going to help you get ready for Easter and some entertaining with a couple of great chefs who have a really great idea. How'd you like to have a couple of professional chefs come to your home and take all the stress out of your home entertaining, huh? We're going to talk about that next here on Home Wizard. Cindy Dole, helping you improve your home and improve your life. We're back after this on KFWB.